Admiral Kethfer stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars through the wide viewing screen. The Zephyrian officer had seen many worlds in his long service to the Galactic Council, but today felt different somehow. His blue-scaled skin reflected the soft light from the ship controls as he checked their position one more time. They were far from Council space now, exploring the outer rim where few ships ever traveled. "Admiral, we have found something unusual," called out his science officer from across the bridge. The young crystalline being's voice carried that musical tone common to her species. "There is a structure orbiting the dead star in this system." Kethfer moved to the science station and looked at the readings. The structure was old, very old, but it was sending out a weak power signature. "Can you tell what species built it?" The science officer worked at her controls for several minutes before answering. "The materials and design patterns match the old records we have of human construction. But Admiral, humans died out 3,000 years ago." Every member of the bridge crew turned to look at their commander. Humans were mentioned in the oldest. Council records as a short-lived species that had destroyed itself through wars and pollution. They had lived on a world called Earth in a small system near the galactic edge. No human structures had ever been found intact. "Set course for the structure," HFY ordered, "and send a message to Council Command. Tell them we may have found something important." The journey to the human station took 6 hours. As they got closer, the structure became more clear on their screens. It was a research facility of some kind, built around a large central hub with several smaller sections connected by covered walkways. The metal looked strange, almost like it was designed to bend light around itself. "No signs of life," reported the tactical officer. "But the power systems are still working after all this time. That should not be possible with human technology." Kethfer had studied the old records about humans during his time at the Council Academy. They were supposed to be a primitive species that barely managed to leave their home planet before destroying themselves. Yet here was a station that had been running for thousands of years in the harsh environment around a dead star. "Prepare a boarding party," he commanded. "I want to see what the humans left behind." The station's airlocks still worked, which surprised everyone on the boarding team. The corridors inside were clean and well maintained, as if someone had been taking care of the facility all these years. Emergency lighting guided them toward what appeared to be the main research area. "Admiral, you need to see this," called out the team's engineer. She was standing in front of a large computer terminal that was still active. Text scrolled across. The screen in the old human language that few beings could read anymore. Kethvar activated his translation device and watched as the alien words became clear. The final log entry was dated just over 3,000 years ago. It had been written by someone called Dr. Katie Sullivan. "Final log entry," the text read. "The approaching threat is now only days away from Earth. All our colonies have gone silent. Project Exodus is our only hope now. The sleeper fleets are ready and waiting in dark space. If anyone finds this station, know that we did not die out like the galaxy believes. We saw what was coming, and we prepared. The beacon will call them home when the time is right." The Admiral read the entry 3 times before he fully understood what it meant. The humans had not destroyed themselves. Something else had killed them, something they called a threat. And they had built sleeper fleets to survive. "Search the station," he ordered his team. "Find everything you can about this Project Exodus." The research team found more than they expected. The station contained thousands of data files about human technology, star maps showing the locations of their colonies, and detailed plans for massive ships unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The ships were designed to travel between galaxies and could apparently support millions of people in cryogenic sleep. Dr. Sullivan's personal logs told a story that made Kethver's blood run cold. The humans had detected something coming from outside the galaxy, something that consumed entire star systems. They called them the Devourers. The final entries described desperate preparations as Earth's long-range sensors tracked the approaching enemy fleet. "We have maybe 6 months before they reach our outer colonies," one log entry said. The evacuation. "Fleets launched yesterday with as many people as we could save. The military fleets will follow once the defensive preparations are complete. If our calculations are right, the Devourers will think they destroyed us completely. They won't look for survivors in dark space." The boarding team found the station's central command room where Dr. Sullivan had made her last stand. Her body was still there, perfectly preserved by the station's systems, sitting at a control panel covered with warning lights. On the main screen, a countdown timer had been running for 3,000 years. What was she counting down to? Asked the engineer. Before anyone could answer, the timer reached 0. Every screen in the command room activated at once, showing star maps and technical readouts. A deep thrumming sound filled the station as massive systems came to life for the first time in millennia. "The beacon," whispered Kethver as he watched a huge antenna array extend from the station's hull. She set it to activate automatically. The beacon sent its signal out into the darkness between galaxies, a quantum pulse that could travel faster than light itself. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear. It contained star charts showing the current positions of all known galactic civilizations, and a single word, repeated over and over in the human language, "return suddenly." Every computer terminal in the command room displayed the same image. A face appeared on the screens, the face of a human male with short brown hair and tired eyes. When he spoke, his voice came through the station's communication system. "I am Captain Jake Morrison," the face said. "I have been waiting 3,000 years for someone to activate the beacon. The signal has been sent. Humanity's true fleet is coming home, and the galaxy is about to learn what we really left behind." Admiral Kethver stared at the screen in shock. The human was somehow alive, preserved in the station's computer systems. Before he could respond, Morrison continued speaking. "You need to warn your council. The threat that destroyed Earth is still out there, and they will detect the beacon signal. The Devourers are coming back, but this time humanity is ready for them." The screen went dark, leaving the boarding team standing in stunned silence. In the distance, other star systems were already picking up the beacon's quantum pulse and preparing their own responses. The galaxy was about to change forever, and Admiral Kethver had just witnessed the beginning of humanity's return. The quantum signal traveled through the void between galaxies at speeds that defied known physics. In the endless darkness of intergalactic space, where no stars shone and no planets turned, something waited. Hundreds of massive ships drifted, in perfect formation, their hulls dark and silent. They had been waiting for 3,000 years. Commander Lisa Parker felt the cold leaving her body as the cryogenic systems slowly brought her back to life. Her eyes opened to see the familiar ceiling of her hibernation chamber aboard the UN's Defiance. The last thing she remembered was saying goodbye to her family on Earth as the evacuation ships prepared to launch. That felt like yesterday, but she knew it had been much longer. "Welcome back, Commander," said a voice from the speakers above her head. It was the ship's artificial intelligence, a system that had been monitoring the fleet during their long sleep. "The beacon signal has been received. It is time to return home." Lisa sat up slowly and looked around the hibernation bay. Thousands of other chambers lined the walls, each one containing a sleeping human. Red lights were beginning to flash on many of them, indicating that the revival process had begun. Her people were waking up. "How long were we asleep?" she asked as she pulled on her uniform. 3,047 years, Commander. You are now the ranking officer of humanity's remaining forces." The words hit her like a physical blow. She had been a junior commander when they left, one of many officers in the human fleet. If she was now the ranking officer, that meant everyone above her had died fighting the Devourers during the evacuation. Lisa made her way to the bridge as other crew members began to wake up around her. The ship felt strange after so many years, but everything was exactly as she remembered it. The Defiance had been humanity's most advanced warship when they departed, equipped with experimental technology that pushed the boundaries of known science. The bridge, she found Captain Ryan Cole of the Un's Vengeance already awake and reviewing the situation reports. Ryan had been her friend since their academy days, and seeing his familiar face made the reality of their situation feel less overwhelming. "The fleet is intact," Ryan reported as she joined him at the command station. "All ships are beginning revival procedures." Captain Maria Santos reports that the UNS Liberty systems are fully operational. Lisa nodded and looked at the main screen, which showed their position relative to the galaxy they had left behind. They were exactly where they were supposed to be, hidden in the darkness between star systems. The long journey had worked perfectly. "What about Earth?" she asked, though she already feared the answer. The screen changed to show long-range sensor readings of their former home system. Where Earth should have been, there was nothing but empty space. Not even debris remained. The Devourers had been thorough in their destruction. "All human colonies show the same result," Ryan said quietly. "They're gone, Lisa, all of them." For a moment, Commander Parker felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders. She was responsible for the last remnant of humanity, floating in the darkness between galaxies. Then she remembered why they had come so far and waited so long. "Computer, wake up Dr. Nathan Blake and his science team," she ordered, "and get me a full status report on the special weapons systems." Dr. Blake arrived on the bridge an hour later, still groggy from his long sleep, but already focused on their mission. He had been humanity's leading expert on theoretical physics before the evacuation, and he had spent years designing the weapons they carried. "The simulations have been running continuously during our hibernation," Blake reported as he reviewed the data on his portable computer. "The ship's computers have been modeling combat scenarios against the Devourers for 3,000 years. We now have battle plans for situations we never could have imagined." Lisa studied the technical readouts that appeared on the main screen. The weapons her ships carried were unlike anything that existed when they left Earth. Reality anchors that could lock the laws of physics in place, preventing the Devourers from using their matter conversion abilities. Temporal displacement cannons that could erase targets from multiple timelines at once. Gravity manipulators that could crush enemy ships into singularities. "How many ships do we have operational?" she asked. 47 capital ships and their escort fleets," reported Captain Maria Santos as she joined them on the bridge. Maria had been in command of the colony defense forces and understood military logistics better than anyone. "Total personnel count is just over 2 million people. 2 million humans left in the entire universe." Lisa tried not to think about what Earth's population had been before the Devourers arrived. Instead, she focused on their mission and the technology they had developed during their long exile. "Commander," interrupted the ship's communication. "Officer, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Core. It's from something calling itself the Galactic Council." The main screen lit up with the image of Admiral Kethver, the Zephyrian officer who had found the beacon station. Behind him stood representatives of several alien species that Lisa had never seen before. "Human fleet, this is Admiral Kethver of the Galactic Council," came the transmission. "We activated your beacon and received your Captain Morrison's warning. About the Devourers, we need to talk." Lisa looked at her senior officers and saw her own thoughts reflected in their faces. The galaxy had changed while they slept. New civilizations had risen and formed their own alliance. Captain Morrison had somehow survived in the beacon station's computer systems and was apparently helping these aliens understand the threat. Open a channel, Lisa ordered. When the connection was established, she stepped forward to address the alien admiral. This is Commander Lisa Parker of the United Nations Space Forces. We received your signal, and we're coming home. Commander Parker, our records show that humans were a primitive species that destroyed themselves, replied Admiral Kethfer. How is it possible that you have survived and developed such advanced technology? Lisa smiled grimly as she prepared to explain 3,000 years of human ingenuity and determination. Admiral, your records are wrong. We didn't destroy ourselves. We saw the Devourers coming decades before they arrived, and we prepared. While our colonies bought us time with their lives, our best minds worked on weapons that could fight an enemy. That consumes matter itself. She gestured to Dr. Blake, who stepped forward with a portable projector. Images of human battle plans and weapon specifications filled the transmission. We spent 3,000 years in hibernation, while our computers ran millions of combat simulations, Blake explained. Every possible scenario, every theoretical weapon, every tactical doctrine was tested and perfected. We know how to fight the Devourers, and we know how to win. The alien faces on the screen showed a mixture of hope and disbelief. Admiral Kethfer leaned forward in his chair. Are you saying that you can defeat the threat that destroyed your entire civilization? Commander Parker's expression hardened as she thought about Earth and all the people who had died defending it. Admiral, we didn't just survive the Devourers. We learned from them. We studied them. And we built weapons specifically designed to turn their own technology against them. The Devourers think they eliminated humanity completely, but they only made us stronger. The transmission continued for another hour as Lisa explained their situation and capabilities to the Galactic Council. The aliens seemed to understand the gravity of what humanity had accomplished during their exile, but they also expressed concern about human intentions. We will return to galactic space within the week, Lisa concluded. Whether you see us as allies or threats is up to you. But when the Devourers detect our return, you'll be glad we came back ready for war. After the transmission ended, Lisa stood alone on the bridge and looked out at the stars that were slowly becoming visible as they approached the galaxy's edge. Her people were ready to come home, but she wondered if home would welcome them back or fear what they had become. The human fleet emerged from dark space, like ghosts returning to haunt the living. Commander Lisa Parker watched from the bridge of the UNS. Defiance's 47 massive warships materialized in normal space near the outer rim of the galaxy. Their hulls seemed to absorb light itself, making them appear as dark silhouettes against the star field. Admiral Kethfor's exploration fleet was waiting for them, but Lisa could see on her sensors that they were nervous. The alien ships maintained a safe distance while scanning the human vessels with every sensor array they possessed. She didn't blame them for being cautious. Their ships are reading our hull composition as impossible, reported Dr. Nathan Blake from his science station. The quantum armor we developed is bending their sensor beams around us. Lisa nodded as she studied the tactical display. The Galactic Council ships were impressive by the standards of 3,000 years ago, but they looked primitive compared to what humanity had built during their exile. The human ships didn't just carry weapons. They had been designed to rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Council fleet, announced her communication officer. Admiral Kethfer appeared on the main screen, flanked by several other alien officers that Lisa had never seen before. The Zephyrian's scaled features showed both curiosity and concern as he studied the bridge of the human flagship. Commander Parker, your ships are unlike anything in our databases, Admiral Kethfer said. Our scientists cannot explain how your hulls are interacting with local space-time. That's because we built them to fight an enemy that can unmake matter at the quantum level, Lisa replied. Every system on these ships was designed to operate in conditions that shouldn't be possible. Before Admiral Kethver could respond, new contacts appeared on both fleets' sensor displays. Ships were approaching from deeper in Council space, dozens of them in a massive formation. Lisa recognized the tactical deployment from her military training. It was a battle formation. "Commander, I apologize," Admiral Kethver said, his expression growing troubled. "Supreme Admiral, Nexthus has mobilized the Council Defense Fleet. He believes humanity represents a threat to galactic security." Lisa felt her jaw tighten as she watched the approaching ships. After 3,000 years of exile, after losing their entire civilization to save the galaxy from the Devourers, the survivors were being treated as invaders. "Captain Cole, Captain Santos, prepare your ships for defensive maneuvers," she ordered over the fleet communication system. "We're about to find out if the Council wants our help or fears our existence." The Council Defense Fleet arrived too. Hours later, under the command of Supreme Admiral Nexthos, a tall insectoid being from the Hive Worlds. His flagship was 3 times larger than any human vessel and bristled with weapon emplacements that could level planets. "Human ships, you will surrender immediately and submit to Council authority," came the transmission from the alien commander. "Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force." Lisa exchanged glances with Dr. Blake and her other senior officers. They had come home expecting to find allies in the fight against the Devourers, but instead they faced the descendants of species that had risen to power after humanity's supposed extinction. "Supreme Admiral, we are not invaders," Lisa replied calmly. "We are the survivors of a species that sacrificed everything to warn the galaxy about the Devourers. We have returned to help defend against their eventual return. Our records show that humans were a violent and primitive species," Nexthus responded. "Your sudden appearance with advanced warships only confirms that you pose a threat to galactic peace." The first shots came without further warning. Energy beams lanced out from the Council fleet toward the human ships, weapons that could crack the crust of a planet. Lisa watched on her tactical display as the beams struck her ship's quantum armor and simply vanished, absorbed into the specially designed hull material. "Return fire," she ordered. "Non-lethal targeting only. Show them what our ships can do." Captain Ryan Cole's ship, the UNS Vengeance, fired a single gravitational pulse toward the Council formation. The weapon didn't hit any of the alien ships directly, but instead created a localized space-time distortion that caused 3 Council vessels to phase briefly out of normal reality before snapping back into existence. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The alien ships that had been caught in the distortion found their weapon systems completely drained and their engines offline. They drifted helplessly in space while their crews tried to understand what had happened to them. "Impossible," breathed Supreme Admiral Nexthus over the communication channel. "No weapon can do that to matter itself." "Supreme Admiral, we tried to do this peacefully," Lisa said as she watched more Council ships move to attack positions. "But you need to understand that we have weapons you cannot comprehend. We developed them to fight an enemy that eats entire star systems." The battle escalated quickly as both fleets engaged with weapons that defied conventional physics. The Council ships fired antimatter torpedoes and quantum disruptors, while the human vessels responded with reality anchors and temporal displacement beams. Space itself seemed to twist and bend around the fighting ships. Captain Maria Santos demonstrated another human innovation when her ship, the UNS Liberty, phased through a Council cruiser without causing damage. The alien ship found itself temporarily existing in a parallel dimension where its weapons could not function normally. It was during this chaotic battle that long-range sensors detected something that made both fleets stop fighting immediately. Dr. Blake's voice cut through the bridge communications with an urgency that chilled Lisa's blood. "Commander, we have multiple contacts approaching from the galactic edge," he reported. "The energy signatures match the Devourer profiles from our historical databases." On the main screen, the tactical display showed dozens of new contacts moving at impossible speeds toward their position. The ships were perfectly geometric, their hulls reflecting no light at all. They moved in formations that seemed to bend space around them as they traveled. Lisa felt her heart sink as she recognized the enemy that had destroyed Earth. The Devourers had detected the quantum beacon and followed its signal back to find both humanity and the new galactic civilizations that had risen in their absence. "All ships, cease fire immediately," she broadcast on an open channel to both fleets. "Supreme Admiral, the real enemy has arrived. Everything else is irrelevant. Now." Supreme Admiral Nexthos appeared on her screen again. His compound eyes focused on the sensor readings that his science officers were providing. The insectoid commander's hostile demeanor had been replaced by something approaching terror. "Those ships," he said quietly, "they're not showing up properly on our sensors. It's as if they're erasing themselves from our detection systems." "That's what they do," Lisa replied grimly. "They don't just destroy matter, they unmake it completely. They erase things from existence, as if they never existed at all. Admiral, Earth isn't just gone, it's been deleted from reality itself." The first Devourer ships reached weapons range and opened fire on both the human and Council vessels. Their weapons didn't create explosions or energy beams. Instead, sections of the targeted ships simply ceased to exist, leaving perfectly smooth gaps where hull plating and equipment had been moments before. "All ships, implement Containment Protocol 7, Lisa ordered her fleet. "Reality anchors to full power." The human ships responded by creating zones of stabilized spacetime around themselves and the Council fleet. Within these zones, the laws of physics were locked in place and could not be altered by Devourer technology. "Supreme Admiral," Lisa said, as she watched the enemy ships probe the edges of her reality anchors, "I hope your people learn quickly, because we're about to teach you how to fight an enemy that wants to erase the entire galaxy from existence." Real war was about to begin, and Lisa Parker found herself commanding not just humanity's survivors, but potentially the last hope for every living being in the galaxy. Supreme Admiral Nexthos made the hardest decision of his military career as he watched Devourer ships systematically erase sections of his fleet from existence. The human reality anchors were the only thing preventing complete annihilation, creating stable zones where his ships could continue to exist normally. "Open a channel to the human commander," he ordered his communication officer. Pride meant nothing when facing extinction. Commander Lisa Parker appeared on his screen, her human features showing the strain of coordinating defenses against an enemy that defied conventional understanding. Behind her, the bridge of the UNS. Defiance hummed with activity as her crew managed weapon systems that seemed to manipulate reality itself. "Supreme Admiral, are you ready to listen now?" Lisa asked without any trace of satisfaction in her voice. The situation was too desperate for petty victories. "Commander Parker, I formally request an alliance between the Council Defense Fleet and your forces," Nexthos replied. "Our weapons are useless against these entities. We need your technology if any of us are going to survive." Lisa nodded grimly as she watched the tactical display. More Devourer ships were arriving every hour, and they were beginning to adapt to human countermeasures. "Dr. Blake, prepare the technology transfer protocols. We're going to have to teach them 3,000 years of human innovation very quickly." The next 6 hours were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human engineers worked alongside Council scientists to install reality anchor generators on alien ships, while the combined fleet fought a running battle against the Devourers. The enemy ships seemed to learn from every engagement, developing new methods to bypass human defenses. Captain Tony Martinez led the first joint human council mission to establish forward defensive positions around the nearby star systems. His ship, the Un's Guardian, worked in coordination with Admiral Kethfer S. Exploration Fleet to create a network of reality stabilizers that could protect entire planets from Devourer weapons. "The installation is working," reported Captain Martinez, as they completed the defensive grid around the third planet. Council ships equipped with our anchor technology are maintaining stable existence fields. Dr. Nathan Blake had been working around the clock with Council scientists to adapt human weapons for alien ships. The process was complicated by fundamental differences in how various species understood physics, but progress was being made. The crystalline collective ships are natural conductors for our temporal displacement technology, Blake explained to Lisa during a brief strategy meeting. Their hulls can channel the chronoton particles without modification. The Zephyrian vessels need more work, but their gravity control systems are compatible with our reality anchors. The first major test of the combined fleet came at the Kepler defense line, where Captain Maria Santos led a mixed force of human and council ships against a massive Devourer formation. The battle demonstrated both the potential and limitations of their hasty alliance. Initiating controlled reality manipulation, Captain Santos reported as her ship, the UNS Liberty, moved into position at the center of the alien formation. The space around her vessel began to shift and warp as she activated humanity's most advanced tactical system. The effect was spectacular and terrifying. The UNZ Liberty created a localized area where the fundamental constants of physics were altered, causing the Devourer machines to tear themselves apart at the molecular level. Their perfect geometric hulls crumbled as the forces holding them together were redefined by human technology. However, the victory was short-lived. The remaining Devourer ships immediately began transmitting data about the human weapons to their fleet network. Within hours, new enemy vessels arrived equipped with countermeasures specifically designed to resist reality manipulation. "They're adapting faster than we expected," Dr. Blake reported with concern. "The Devourers are targeting our ships specifically now, as if they retained information about human capabilities from their original attack on Earth." Lieutenant Commander Ashley Webb, the fleet's intelligence officer, had been analyzing captured Devourer data fragments when she made a disturbing discovery. The enemy ships weren't just randomly exploring the galaxy. They were following a specific mission protocol that had been programmed 3,000 years ago. "Commander, I think the Devourers had been waiting for us to return," Ashley reported. During an emergency briefing, their attack patterns suggest they knew humanity would eventually come back with advanced weapons. They've been preparing countermeasures for 3 millennia. Lisa studied the intelligence reports with growing unease. The Devourers had found Earth very quickly during their original invasion, despite humanity's attempts to hide their location. The speed and precision of their current response suggested they had inside information about human capabilities and intentions. "Someone told them where to find us the first time," Lisa concluded. "And someone has been feeding them information about our technology ever since." The revelation led to a desperate investigation led by Captain Jake Morrison's preserved consciousness, now networked throughout the human fleet communication systems. Working with Council intelligence services, they began searching for evidence of a controlling intelligence behind the Devourer attacks. What they found in the deepest archives of Council space was worse than anyone had imagined. References to an entity called the Architect appeared in the oldest records of every known civilization, always associated with periods of technological stagnation or the mysterious disappearance of advanced species. "The Architect has been guiding galactic evolution for millions of years," Morrison reported from his distributed consciousness across the fleet network. Any species that develops technology beyond certain limits simply vanishes from the historical record. The Devourers are just one tool it uses to maintain control. Supreme Admiral Nexthos convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council to discuss the implications of this discovery. Representatives from all 7 member species gathered virtually to hear humanity's evidence of a puppet master controlling their development for eons. If this architect entity exists, said Counselor Veltar of the Crystalline Collective, then our entire civilization has been shaped by its influence. Every major technological breakthrough, every period of stagnation, every species that vanished, without explanation. Dr. Blake presented his analysis of the enemy attack patterns and technological capabilities. The Devourers aren't just following programmed instructions. They're receiving real-time updates from something with detailed knowledge of both human and Council military capabilities. As if summoned by their discussion, long-range sensors detected a massive energy signature approaching from the galactic core. The source was unlike anything in their databases, a structure so large it dwarfed entire star systems. "That's it," said Captain Morrison over the fleet communication system. "That's the Architect's base of operations. It's been hiding in the galactic core for millions of years, pulling the strings of every civilization that ever existed." Commander. Lisa Parker looked at the tactical display showing the approaching entity and felt the weight of human history on her shoulders. Her species had been eliminated not because they were a threat to other civilizations, but because they represented a threat to something far older and more dangerous than the Devourers themselves. "All ships, prepare for the final engagement," she announced to both the human fleet and their Council allies. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for the right of every species in the galaxy to determine their own destiny." The Architect was coming, and with it would come the truth about humanity's real purpose in the cosmic order. Lisa Parker and her surviving people were about to discover why they had been chosen for extinction, and why their return might be the galaxy's only hope for freedom. The Architect revealed itself as something beyond the understanding of any known species. It was not a ship or a structure, but a living manipulation of space-time itself, stretching across several star systems in the galactic core. When it spoke, its voice resonated through subspace in every language that had ever existed. "I am the shepherd of galactic civilization," the entity announced as its presence filled every sensor array in both the human and Council fleets. "For 10 million years, I have guided the development of intelligent species, preventing them from achieving technologies that would threaten the cosmic order." Commander Lisa Parker stood on the bridge of the Unaze Defiance and stared at the impossible being displayed on her screens. The Architect appeared to be part machine, part living energy, and part something else entirely that human science had no words to describe. "You eliminated humanity because we developed technology that could challenge your control," Lisa said, her voice carrying across the communication channels to every ship in the combined fleet. "Humanity was developing the ability to manipulate reality at the quantum level," the Architect replied. "Such power in the hands of an unguided species would have led to the destruction of this galaxy and countless others. The Devourers were sent to prevent that outcome." Dr. Nathan Blake worked frantically at his science station, analyzing the energy patterns emanating from the Architect. What he discovered made him call out urgently to Lisa and the other commanders. "It's not just controlling our local galaxy," Blake reported. "The quantum signatures suggest it has similar operations in other galactic clusters throughout the universe. This thing has been shaping the development of intelligent life on a cosmic scale." Supreme Admiral Nexthus joined the conversation from his flagship, his compound eyes reflecting the terrible understanding of what they faced. "You're saying our entire civilization, everything we've achieved, has been allowed to exist only because it serves your purposes?" "Every species follows the path I designed for them," the Architect confirmed. "Those that stray too far from the plan are eliminated before they can spread their dangerous innovations to others. Humanity represented the greatest threat I had encountered in millions of years. Captain Ryan Cole of the Unzi Vengeance had been studying the tactical situation while the architect spoke. His analysis revealed something that gave Lisa hope, despite the overwhelming odds they faced. "Commander, the architect's reality manipulation is powerful, but it's concentrated in the galactic core," Cole reported. "Our reality anchors can create stable zones where its influence is limited. If we can get close enough with the quantum destroyer, we might have a chance." The quantum destroyer was humanity's ultimate weapon, developed during their 3,000-year exile in dark space. It didn't just destroy matter or energy. It could rewrite the fundamental laws that governed reality in a localized area. The weapon was so dangerous that using it would require sacrificing the ship that carried it. "All ships, implement final protocol," Lisa announced to her fleet. "We're going to give every species in this galaxy the right to choose their own destiny, even if it costs us everything." The battle that followed stretched across multiple star systems as the combined human and Council fleets fought through waves of devourer ships to reach the architect's position. The enemy vessels had been upgraded with new weapons designed specifically to counter human technology, but they were no match for the desperate courage of beings fighting for their freedom. Captain Tony Martinez led the final assault, his ship serving as the spearhead for a formation that included vessels from every Council species. The diversity of their fleet became its strength as different technologies combined in ways the architect had never encountered. "Reality anchors at maximum power," Martinez reported as his ship approached the architect's outer defenses. "We're creating a stable corridor for the quantum destroyer." Dr. Blake coordinated the weapon deployment from the UNS Defiance, his calculations refined by 3,000 years of computer simulations. The quantum destroyer would need to detonate at the exact center of the architect's consciousness to rewrite the reality field that sustained its existence. "Commander, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout the galactic core," reported the tactical officer. "The architect is preparing to eliminate every ship in our fleet simultaneously." Lisa made the decision that would define humanity's legacy. "I'm taking the Defiance in personally. All other ships maintain the reality corridor and protect the evacuation routes." "Lisa, no," Captain Cole protested over the communication system. "We can find another way." "There is no other way, Ryan," Lisa replied as she ordered her ship toward the heart of the architect's domain. "Someone has to make sure the quantum destroyer reaches its target, and I'm not asking anyone else to make this sacrifice." The UN's Defiance accelerated toward the architect's core, while reality itself seemed to twist and bend around them. The ancient entity focused its full attention on the approaching human ship, unleashing weapons that had been used to eliminate countless civilizations over the millennia. "Reality anchor holding," reported Dr. Blake, as sections of space around their ship flickered between different physical laws. "But the field is destabilizing. We have maybe 10 minutes before the architect breaks through our defenses." Captain Jake Morrison's consciousness, distributed throughout the fleet network, suddenly spoke with urgency that cut through all other communications. "Lisa, I'm detecting something else in the architect's quantum signature. It's not alone. There are others like it in different parts of the universe, and they're all connected." The revelation meant that destroying this architect would only solve part of the problem, but Lisa pressed forward anyway. Freedom had to start somewhere, and the galaxy deserved a chance to develop without cosmic manipulation. As the Defiance penetrated deeper into the architect's domain, Lisa began to understand the true scope of what they were fighting. The entity wasn't just controlling galactic civilization. It was part of a network that managed intelligent life throughout the entire universe. Every species that had ever existed had been shaped by beings like the architect. "Quantum destroyer armed and ready," announced Dr. Blake. "Detonation in 60 seconds. The architect's voice filled the bridge one final time, no longer the calm tone of a cosmic shepherd, but something approaching panic. You do not understand the consequences of your actions. Without guidance, species develop weapons that can destroy entire realities. I have prevented countless cosmic disasters. Maybe, Lisa replied as she watched the countdown timer approach. 0. But you also prevented countless species from reaching their full potential. You turned the universe into a prison, and were breaking out. The quantum destroyer detonated at the moment the Defiance reached the exact center of the architects. Consciousness. The weapon didn't create an explosion in any conventional sense. Instead, it rewrote the laws of physics in an expanding sphere that encompassed the entire galactic core. Within that sphere, the architect's reality manipulation abilities simply ceased to function. The ancient entity found itself bound by the same physical laws that governed ordinary matter, and without its reality-bending powers, it began to collapse under its own massive gravitational field. But something unexpected happened as the architect died. Its final act was to transmit a quantum signal to something called the Restoration Protocol, a fail-safe system that had been dormant for millions of years. The protocol activated, and suddenly, Earth appeared in its original orbit around Sol, exactly as it had been the moment before the Devourers arrived. All the human colonies that had been erased from existence flickered back into reality, their populations continuing their lives as if no time had passed. Lisa Parker found herself standing on the bridge of the Defiance, but the ship was no longer in the galactic core. They were back in Earth orbit, and through the main screen, she could see the blue and green world that humanity had lost 3,000 years ago. How is this possible? Dr. Blake asked as he studied the sensor readings that showed Earth's restoration. Captain Morrison's voice provided the answer. The architect's reality manipulation worked both ways. When it erased things from existence, it stored the quantum information in case it needed to restore them later. When the quantum destroyer rewrote local reality, it released everything the architect had ever eliminated. The celebration was interrupted by long-range sensors detecting massive fleets approaching from the outer galaxy. But these weren't enemy ships. They were human vessels from colonies that had been fighting the Devourers for 3,000 years, believing themselves to be the last survivors of their species. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the new Terra Defense Force," came a transmission from the lead ship. "We've been fighting the Devourers since Earth fell. How are you reading life signs from the home system?" Over the following days, the full scope of what had happened became clear. The architect's destruction had freed not just their galaxy, but countless others throughout the universe. Species that had been eliminated for developing dangerous technologies were returning to existence, each one carrying knowledge and innovations that had been suppressed for millions of years. The Galactic Council reformed as the Free Worlds Alliance, with humanity serving not as rulers, but as Gwa,